Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to read Leviticus 13 to 18, Proverbs 16, and Psalm 109. Let's get started. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when a person has on the skin of his body a swelling or an eruption or a spot, and it turns into a case of leprous disease or on the skin of his body, then it shall be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons, the priest. And the priest shall examine the diseased area on the skin of the body. And if the hair in the diseased area has turned white, and the disease appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a case of leprous disease. When the priest has examined him, he shall pronounce him unclean. But if the spot is white in the skin of his body, and appears no deeper than the skin, and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest shall shut up the diseased person for 7 days. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and if in his eyes the disease is checked, and the disease is not spread in the skin, and the priest shall shut him up for another 7 days. And the priest shall examine him again on the 7th day. And if the diseased area has faded, and the disease is not spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only an eruption, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the eruption spreads in the skin, after he has shown himself to the priest for his cleansing, he shall appear again before the priest, and the priest shall look, and if the eruption is spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous disease. When a man is afflicted with a leprous disease, he shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall look, and if there is a white swelling in the skin that has turned the hair white, and there is raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic leprous disease in the skin of his body. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if the leprous disease breaks out in the skin, so that the leprous disease covers all the skin of the diseased person, from head to foot, so far as the priest can see, then the priest shall look. And if the leprous disease has covered all his body, he shall pronounce him clean of the disease. If it has all turned white, and he is clean. When raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. Raw flesh is unclean, for it is a leprous disease. If the raw flesh recovers and turns white again, then he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. And if the disease has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce that diseased person clean. He is clean. If there is a skin of one's body or boil and it heals, and in the place of the boil there becomes a white swelling or a reddish white spot, then it shall be shown to the priest. And the priest shall look, and if it appears deeper than the skin and its hair is turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease that is breaking out in the boil. But if the priest examines it, and there is no white hair in it, and it is not deeper than the skin and is faded, then the priest shall shut him up for 7 days. And if it spreads in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a disease. But if the spot remains in one place and does not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or when the body has a burn on its skin, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a spot, reddish white or white, the priest shall examine it, and if the hair in the spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, then it is a leprous disease. It is broken out in the burn, and the priest shall pronounce it unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. If the priest examines it, and there is no white hair in the spot, and it is no deeper than the skin, and it has faded, the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall examine him the 7th day. If it is spreading in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. If the spot remains in one place and does not spread in the skin, but is faded, it is a swelling from the burn, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the scar of the burn. When a man or woman has a disease on the head or the beard, the priest shall examine the disease, and if it appears deeper than the skin, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an itch, a leprous disease of the head of all the beard. And if the priest examines the itching disease, and it appears no deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up the person with the itching disease for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the disease. If the itch is not spread, and there is in it no yellow hair, and the itch appears to be no deeper than the skin, then he shall shave himself, and at the itch he shall not shave, and the priest shall shut up the person with the itching disease for another 7 days. And on the 7th day, the priest shall examine the itch. And if the itch has not spread in the skin, and it appears to be no deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. And he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the itch spreads in the skin after his cleansing, and the priest shall examine him, and if the itch is spread in the skin, the priest may not the seed for the other head. He is unclean. If in his eyes the itch is unchanged, and black hair has grown, the itch is healed, and he is clean. And the priest shall pronounce him clean. When a man or woman has spots on the skin of the body, white spots, and the priest shall look, and if the spots on the skin of the body are of a dull white, he is a leukoderma that is broken out in the skin. He is clean. If a man's hair falls out from his head, he is bald, he is clean. And if a man's hair falls out from his forehead, he is baldness of the forehead, he is clean. And if there is on the bald head or the bald forehead a reddish-white diseased area, he is leprous disease breaking out on his bald head or his bald forehead, and the priest shall examine him, and if the disease swelling is reddish-white on his bald head, on his bald forehead, like the appearance of leprous disease in the skin of the body, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest must pronounce him unclean. His disease is on his head. The leprous person who has the disease shall wear torn clothes and let the hair of his head hang loose. And he shall cover his upper lip and cry out, unclean, unclean. He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live a life. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. When there is a case of leprous disease in a garment, whether a woolen or linen garment, in warp or woof or linen or wool, or in the skin or in anything made of skin, if the disease is greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the skin, or in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, it is a case of leprous disease, and it shall be shown to the priest. And the priest shall examine the disease and shut up that which has the disease for 7 days. And he shall examine the disease on the 7th day. If the disease is spread in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in the skin, whatever be the use of the skin, the disease is a persistent leprous disease, is unclean. And he shall burn the garment, or the warp or the woof, the wool or the linen, or any article made of skin that is diseased, or any persistent leprous disease. It shall be burned in the fire. And if the priest examines, and if the disease has not spread in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing which is the disease, and he shall shut it up for another 7 days. And the priest shall examine the diseased thing after it is being washed, and if the appearance of the diseased area is not changed, or the disease is not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in the fire, whether the rock is on your back or on the front. But if the priest examines, and if the diseased area is faded after it is being washed, he shall tear it out of the garment or the skin or the warp or the woof. And if it appears again in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, it is spreading. You shall burn it with fire, whatever has the disease, or the garment, the warp, or the warp or the woof, or any article made of skin from which the disease appears, from which the disease departs. When you have washed it, shall then be washed a 2nd time, and be clean. This is the law for a case of leprous disease in a garment of wool or linen, either in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, to determine whether it is clean or unclean. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, This shall be the law for the leprous person before the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest. He shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and then, if the case of leprous disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command them to take him who is to be cleansed 2 by clean birds, and cedarwood and scarlet yarn, and hyssop. And the priest shall command them to kill one of the birds in earthenware vessel over fresh water. And shall take the live bird with the cedarwood and the scarlet yarn and the hyssop, and dip them in the live bird in the blood of the bird, and is killed over the fresh water. And he shall sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed of the leprous disease. And he shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird go into the open field. And he who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off his hair, and bathe himself in the water, and he shall be clean. And after that he may come into the camp, but live outside his tent 7 days. And on the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair from his head, his beard, and his eyebrow. And he shall shave off all his hair, and then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe his body in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish, and a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest who cleanses him shall set the man who is to be cleansed in these things before the Lord, at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall take one of the male lambs and offer it for a guilt offering, and along with the log of oil, and wave him for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the man in the place where they kill the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the place of the sanctuary. For the guilt offering, like the sin offering, belongs to the priest. It is the most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest shall put it on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of his own left hand, and dip his right finger into the oil that is in his left hand, and sprinkle some oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And some of the oil that remains in his hand, the priest shall put on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the guilt offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand, he shall put it on the head of him who is to be cleansed. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord. And the priest shall offer the sin offering to make atonement for him who is to be cleansed from his uncleanness. And after he shall kill the burnt offering. The priest shall offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. Thus the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford so much, then he shall take 1 male lamb for a guilt offering to be waved, to make atonement for him, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil for a grain offering, and a log of oil, as your 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, whichever he can afford. The one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And on the 8th day he shall bring them for his cleansing to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb with the guilt offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the guilt offering. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering and put it on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand, and shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put some of the oil that is in his hand on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, in the place where the blood of the guilt offering was put. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed, to make atonement for him before the Lord. And he shall offer of the turtle doves or pigeons, whichever he can afford, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, along with a grain offering. And the priest shall make atonement before the Lord for him who is being cleansed. This is the law for him in whom is a case of leprous disease, who cannot afford the offerings for his cleansing. The Lord that spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when you come into the land of Canaan, which I gave you for a possession, and I put a case of leprous disease into a house in the land of your possession, and he who owns the house shall come and tell the priest, there seems to me to be some case of disease in my house. And the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest goes to examine the disease, lest all that is in the house be declared unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house, and he shall examine the disease. And if the disease is in the walls of the house, with greenish or reddish spots, and it appears to be deeper than the surface, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again on the 7th day, and look, if the disease is spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take out the stones in which is the disease, and throw them into an unclean place outside the city. And they shall have the inside of the house scraped all around, and the plaster that they scrape off they shall pour out in an unclean place outside the city. And then they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones, and shall take other plaster and plaster the house. And if the disease breaks out again in the house, and after he has taken out the stones and scraped the house and plastered it, and the priest shall go and look. And if the disease is spread in the house, it is a persistent leprous disease in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, its studs and timber, and all the plaster of the house, and he shall carry them out of the city to an unclean place. Moreover, whoever enters the house while it is shut up shall be unclean until the evening, and whoever sleeps in the house shall wash his clothes, and whoever eats in the house shall wash his clothes. If the priest comes and looks, and if the disease is not spread in the house after the house is plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, for the disease is healed. And for the cleansing of the house he shall take 2 small birds with cedar wood and scarlet yarn and hyssop, and shall kill one of the birds in an earthenware vessel over the fresh water, and shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the scarlet yarn, along with the live bird, and dip them in the blood of the bird that was killed, and then the fresh water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. Thus he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the fresh water, and with the live bird, and with the cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet yarn. And he shall let the live bird go out of the sea into the open country, and he shall make atonement for the house. It shall be clean. This is the law for any case of leprous disease, for an itch, for a leprous disease in a garment or in a house, and for a swelling or an eruption or a spot, to show when it is unclean and when it is clean. This is the law for a leprous disease. The Lord spake to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, when any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean, and this is the law of his uncleanness for a discharge. Whether his body runs with his discharge, or his body is blocked up by his discharge, is his uncleanness. Every bed on which the one with the discharge lies shall be unclean, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And everyone who touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever sits on everything on which the one with the discharge is sat, shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches the body of the one with the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And if the one with the discharge spits on someone who is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And any saddle on which the one with the discharge rides shall be unclean. And whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the evening. And whoever carries such things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And on him the one with the discharge touches, without having rinsed his hands in water, shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And from my vessel that the one with the discharge touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when the one with the discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes. And he shall bathe his body in fresh water and be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, and come before the Lord to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the priest. And the priest shall use them, one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord for his discharge. If a man of an emission of semen, he shall bathe his whole body in water, and be unclean until the evening. And every garment and every skin on which the semen comes shall be washed in water, and be unclean until the evening. If a man lies with a woman and has an emission of semen, then both of them shall bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening. When a woman has a discharge, and the discharge in her body is blood, she shall be in a menstrual impurity for 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until the evening. And everything on which she lies during the menstrual impurity shall be unclean. Everything else on which she sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches anything on which she shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Whether it is the bed or anything on which he sits, when he touches it, she shall be unclean until the evening. And if any man lies with her in a menstrual impurity, and he comes upon her, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. If a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, not at the time of her menstrual impurity, or if she has a discharge of blood beyond the time of her impurity, all the days of the discharge she shall continue in uncleanness. As in the days of her impurity, she shall be unclean, and every bed on which she lies, all the days of her discharge, shall be to her as the bed of her impurity, and everything on which she sits shall be unclean, as in the uncleanness of her menstrual impurity. And whoever touches these things shall be unclean, and he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And if she is cleansed of a discharge, she shall count for herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, and bring them to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall use one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her before the Lord, and for her unclean discharge. And else he shall keep the people of Israel separate her from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness by defilling the tabernacle that is in their midst. This is the law for him who has a discharge, and for him who has an emission of sin, becoming unclean thereby. Also for her who is unclean, unwell with a menstrual impurity, that is for anyone male or female who has a discharge, and for the man who lies with a woman who is unclean. And the Lord spake to Moses after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron, when they drew near to the Lord before the Lord and died. And the Lord said to Moses, Tell Aaron your brother not to come any time into the holy place inside the gate, before the mercy seat that is on the ark, so that he may not die. For I will appear in the cloud day of the mercy to see. And in this way Aaron shall come into the holy place with a bull from the herd for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and shall have the linen undergarment on his body, and he shall tie the linen sash around his waist, and wear a linen turban. These are the holy garments. He shall bathe his body in water and put them on, and he shall take from the congregation of the people of Israel 2 male goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering for himself, and he shall make atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and set them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Aaron shall cast lots over the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat on which the lot fell for the Lord, and use it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord to make atonement over it, that it may be sent away into the wilderness to Azazel. Aaron shall present the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make atonement for himself and for his house. He shall kill the bull as a sin offering for himself, and he shall take his censer full of coals of fire from the altar before the Lord, and 2 handfuls of sweet incense, being small. And he shall bring it inside the veil and put the incense on the fire before the Lord. And the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is over the testimony, so that he does not die. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it with his finger on the front of the mercy seat on the east side. And in front of the mercy seat he shall sprinkle some of the blood with his finger 7 times. And he shall kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people, and bring its blood inside the veil, and do with his blood as he did with the blood of the bull, sprinkling it over the mercy seat and in front of the mercy seat. Thus he shall make atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanness of the people of Israel, and because of their transgressions, all their sins. So he shall do for the tent of meeting, which dwells in the midst of their uncleanness. No one may be in the tent of meeting from the time he enters to make atonement for the holy place, until he comes out and has made atonement for himself and for his house and for all the assembly of Israel. And he shall go out to the altar that is before the Lord, and make atonement for it, and shall take some of the blood of the bull, and put some of the blood of the goat, and put it on the horns of the altar all around. And he shall sprinkle some of the blood on it with his fingers 7 times, and cleanse and consecrate it from the uncleanness of the people of Israel. And when he has made an end of atoning for the holy place and the tent of meeting and the altar, he shall present the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, and confess over all the iniquities of the people of Israel, and all their transgressions and all their sins. And he shall put them on the head of the goat, and send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a man who is in the readiness. The goat shall bear all their iniquities on itself to a remote area, and he shall let the goat go free in the wilderness. Then Aaron shall come into the tent of meeting, and shall take off the linen garment that he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall bathe his body in water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come out and offer his burnt offering, and the burnt offering of the people, and make atonement for himself and for the people. And the fire of the sin offering he shall burn on the altar. And he who lets the goat go to Azazel shall wash his clothes, and bathe his body in water. And afterward he may come into the camp. And the bull for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the holy place, shall be carried outside the camp. Their skin and their flesh and their dung shall be burned out with fire. And he who burns them shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water. And afterward he may come into the camp. And it shall be a statute to you forever. And in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict yourselves and shall do no work, either the native or the stranger who sojourns among you. For on this day shall atonement be made for you to cleanse you. You shall be clean before the Lord for all your sins. It is a Sabbath of solemn rest to you, and you shall afflict yourselves. It is a statute forever, and the priest who is anointed and consecrated as the priest in the place shall make atonement, wearing the holy linen garments. He shall make atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make atonement for the tent and for the altar. And he shall make atonement for the place and for all the people of the assembly. And this shall be a statute forever for you, that atonement may be made for the people of Israel once in a year because of all their sins. And Aaron did as the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his sons and to all the people of Israel, and say to them, This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. If anyone of the house of Israel kills an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or kills it outside the camp, and does not bring it to the edges of the tent of meeting to offer it as a gift to the Lord, and from the tabernacle of the Lord, blood guilt shall be imputed to that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. This is to the end that the people of Israel may bring the sacrifices that they sacrifice in the open field, that they may bring them to the Lord, the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and sacrifice them as sacrifices of peace offerings to the Lord. And the priest shall throw the blood on the altar of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and burn the fat for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. They shall no more sacrifice their sacrifices to great demons, after whom they war. There shall be a statute forever for them throughout their generations. And you shall say to them, Any one of the house of Israel, or of the strangers who sojourn among who offers a burnt offering and sacrifice and does not bring it to the entrance of the town meeting to offer it to the Lord. And that man shall be cut off from his people. If any one of the house of Israel or of the strangers who sojourn among them eats any blood, I will set my face against that person who eats blood, and I will cut him off from among his people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it for you on the altar to make atonement for yourselves. For it is the blood that makes atonement by the life. Therefore I have said to the people of Israel, no person among you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger who sojourns among you eat blood. Anyone also of the people of Israel of the strangers who sojourn among you, who takes on hunting any beast or bird that may be eaten, shall pour out its blood and cover it with earth. For the life of every creature is its blood is its life. Therefore I have said to the people of Israel, you shall not eat the blood of any creature, for the life of every creature is its blood. Whoever eats it shall be cut off, and every person who eats what dies of itself, or what is torn by beasts. Whether he is a native or a sojourner shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until evening. And he shall be unclean, and if he does not wash them or bathe his flesh, he shall bear his iniquity. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, I am the Lord your God. You shall not do as they do in the land of Egypt, where you live, and you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan, to which I am bringing you. You shall not walk in their statutes. You shall follow my rules and keep my statutes and walk in them. I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my rules. If a person does them, he shall live by them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach any one of his close relatives to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, which is the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother, and you shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It is your father's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, or your father's daughter, or your mother's daughter, whether brought up in the family or in another home. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter, or of your daughter's daughter, for their nakedness is your own nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife or daughter, brought up in your father's family, since she is your sister. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is your father's relative. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is your mother's relative. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. That is, you shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman or of a daughter. And you shall not take a son's daughter or a daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are relatives. It is depravity. And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister, uncovering her nakedness while her sister is still alive. You shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness while she is in her menstrual uncleanness. And you shall not lie sexually with your neighbor's wife, and so make yourself unclean with her. You shall not give any of your children to offer them to Molech, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman, and this is abomination. And you shall not lie with any animal, and so make yourself unclean with it. Neither shall any woman give herself to an animal to lie with it. It is a perversion. Do not make yourselves unclean by any of these things. For by all of these the nations I am driving out before you have become unclean, and the land has become unclean, so that I am punishing its iniquity, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But you shall keep my statutes and my rules, and do none of these abominations. Whether the nature of the stranger who sojourns among you, the land vomit you out when you make unclean, as it vomited out the nation that was before you. For everyone who does any of these abominations, the person who did them shall be cut off from among their people. So keep my charge never to practice any of these abominable customs that were practiced before you, and never to make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. Proverbs 16. The plans of the heart belong to the man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs his spirit. Command your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. The Lord made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of trouble. Everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured, he will not go unpunished. My step is love and faithfulness, iniquity is attainable, and by the fear of the Lord one turns away from evil. When a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. That is the Lord with righteousness, and great revenues with injustice. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. An oracle is on the lips of the king, his mouth does not sin in judgment. A just balance and scales of the Lord. All the ways of the bad guy's work is an abomination to kings to do evil. For the throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of a king. Then he loves him who speaks what is right. A king's wrath is the messenger of death, and a wise man will appease it. In the light of a king's face there is life, and his favor is like clouds that bring the spring rain. How much better to get wisdom than gold? To get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver. The highway of the upright tends to satisfy you. Whoever cuts his way preserves his life. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. It is better to be of a lowly spirit than with the poor, than to divide the spoil with the proud. Whoever gives thought to the world will discover good, and blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. The wise of the heart is called to sin, and sweetness of speech increases persuasiveness. Good sense is a fountain of life to him who has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise makes his speech judicious, and adds persuasiveness to his lips. Gracious words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. There is a way that seems right to a man, and his end is the way to death. Workers' appetite works for him, his mouth urges him on. The worthless man loves evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisper separates close friends. A man of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good. Whoever winks his eyes plans dishonest things. He who purses his lips brings evil to pass. Gray hair is a crown of glory. He is gained in a righteous life. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty. But he who rules the spirit than he who takes it. The Lord is cast into the lap, but every decision is from the Lord. Psalm 109. Be not silent, O God of my praise, for wicked and deceitful mouths are opened against me, speaking against me with lying tongues. They encircle me with words of hate, and attack me without cause. In return for my love they accuse me, and I give myself to prayer. So they reward me evil for good, and hatred for my love. And I appoint a wicked man against him. Let an accuser stand at his right hand. When he is tried, let him come forth guilty. Let his prayer be accounted as sin. May his days be few. May another take his office. May his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow. And his children wander about and beg, seeking food far from the ruins they inhabit. May the creditor seize all that he has. May strangers plunder the fruits of his toil. May there be none to extend kindness to him, nor any to pity his fatherless child. May his posterity be cut off. May his name be blotted out in the second generation. May the iniquity of his fathers be remembered before the Lord, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth. He did not remember to show kindness, pursued the poor and needy, and the broken heart, to put them to death. He loved to curse, let curses come upon him. He did not delight in blessing, and they be far from him. He clothed himself with cursing as his coat, and he soaked into his body like water, like oil in his bones. And he be like a garment that he wraps around him, like a belt that he puts on every day. May this be the reward of my accusers from the Lord, of those who speak evil against my life. But you, O God, my Lord, deal on the behalf of your name's sake. Who has your steadfast love is good, deliver me, for I am the poor and needy, and my heart is stricken within me. I am gone like a shadow at evening, I am shaken off like a locust. My knees are weak through fasting, my body has become gaunt with no fat. I am an object of scorn to my accusers, and when they see me, they wag their heads. Help me, O Lord my God, save me according to your steadfast love. Let them know that this is your hand. You, O Lord, have done it. Let them curse, but you will bless. They arise in an hour put to shame. Your servant will be glad. May my accusers be clothed with dishonor. May they be wrapped in their own shame as in clay. With my mouth I will give great thanks to the Lord. I will praise him in the midst of the throng. For he stands at the right hand of the needy one, to save him from those who condemn his soul to death. Now that is done, I shall now do the Lord's Prayer. Please pray, as the Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.